We are live. Welcome everyone on this cold day here in Brisbane. It's not really that cold, but it's winter cold. So hello Bram and hello Arthur. This is becoming our normal weekly LinkedIn Live that also actually streams on our YouTube channel, which is the Spark Tank Coaching, as well as the Performance Advisory Group. So welcome back and welcome to everyone that's joining us today as well. Bram is a Belgian-born psychologist, but also an entrepreneur that helps sales professionals achieve more than they ever thought they could. And Arthur Callis, my other guest, is a entrepreneur in financial services, runs a dealer group, but he also is an experienced financial planner as well. So welcome, guys. So thanks for joining me again.
Thanks, Polly. Good to see you again, Bram, as always.
Pleasure.
So this week we hit the 1st of July, and most financial advisors would normally be sighing a bit of a sigh of relief, knowing that they've finished off the last year and they're ready to start into the new financial year. But this year, I think, has caused much more stress for so many financial planners, and not even financial planners, but the support staff around them, because of all the new regulations that have also come in, namely the ongoing service review that's come in from the 1st of July. But I was reading an article the other day on Professional Planner, and it was talking about how many financial planners had actually left the industry just from the 1st of July, and the number was around 579, I think it was. And I was looking at some figures where they said that there was approximately 19,000 financial advisors registered in 2020, and they're now looking at the end of this year potentially having around 14,500 financial planners in the industry, or thereabouts, you know, when we look at that. And I just was really thinking about not only the impact of losing so many financial advisors, but also the impact this would have on the consumers, but also the support staff around them, because I'm having so many conversations with people that are just, and when I say conversations with people or coaching sessions, it's more around your compliance managers, your financial planning practice managers, things like that, where they're just over being in the industry now. And I just would love to know your thoughts on what do you think this is going to impact, not only the consumers, but also the industry as a whole. So I'll start with you, Arthur, first.
Yes, it is a very serious topic. I think to clarify some of those numbers, that 500 odd number was in the week leading to the end of June. And I'd say that number will be updated as AFSLs update their registers over the coming weeks. So that number, I think, is underpresented.
Yeah.
Effectively, what's happened is these advisors that did not see that they had any intention to continue beyond the end of December, where at that time was the deadline for the FASIA exam pass mark, which now has been extended. If you've sat twice and failed, you've got until September next year to sit your third time. But I think many of those advisors would have made their minds up and essentially have exited pre-December to avoid the levy fee, because many AFSLs on charge that fee to their advisors in terms of aggregated AFSLs, such as ourselves at Spark, but and even with self-licensed, moving on the ARs underneath, they would avoid that levy fee, which climbed from 1,500 to 2,500. And so I've even seen AFSLs, bolt on like a provision on exiting plans to say we'll hold back 3,500 in the event that the 2,500 increases to more, and we'll pay you back the difference once we understand what the final invoice is. And I'm getting to your question, Kylie, in a roundabout long way.
No, I love it. Good.
Yeah, because that's the context of what's happened as to the June 30 experience. There will be more. and why it kind of was brought forward essentially from the December date, which is linkage to the FSCA exam. But the question really remains now that FSCA has been rolled into Treasury. There's got to be I think some serious thinking around, well, what's going to happen to the levy next year if there's going to be a reduction from 24,000 paying ARs to 14,500, as you state.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I think what that response would be is, well, we'll just charge the existing more, which then flows on to the compounds the current issues that we're facing, around sustainability of these single planner practices and also profitability of it's the more established practices. But ultimately, where's that going to go? It's going to get passed on to the consumer one way or another, which is further compounding the inaffordability of advice as it currently stands. So, if you aggregate that, that extra, could be potentially double of the levy to capture the missing footprint from point A to point B, being this time, next year. Will be interesting to see what happens to the levy there moving forward. So, more importantly is sustainability of our advice model, in the sense that not only from the consumer's perspective, but from a product provider's perspective. And so, my fear really is around the life insurance companies' sustainability to remain in this marketplace where they've had many more advisors to deliver their solutions through, particularly those specialist life insurance advisors, who've had to really morph themselves to either, reinvent themselves or start to deploy, further services to their existing clients beyond just risk, which is a massive step change for these, let's say, very well, educated and schooled and methodical advisors in that life insurance space. Is a big shift in direction. But if you've got less sellers of insurance, and when I use the word sellers, life insurance, let's face it, it is a sold solution, and needs a level of expertise to be sold. You need qualified persons to sell it. And so if you've got less of them, well, you've got these insurance companies that would now come under pressure and really reviewing potentially their positioning in the Australian market, being these overseas insurers, and also what's going to happen to premiums. And so again, this is constant driving up of cost to the consumer through less persons sharing the load, and increasing the pressure on the existing persons, advisors, carrying the load. And it is a massive amount of duress, and that's going to get streamed through the entire supply chain. So I think it's more, like we've been talking more at the advisor level. I think there's some greater, broader macro issues that have to be would have to be getting discussed at higher levels of government, including Treasury, around these emerging issues.
Yeah, and we seem to have lost Bram's video. Look, and you know how passionate I am about risk insurance. It's one of the reasons that I joined in the industry back in 1988. But also I used to advise on risk, and I used to love it. And now to see, this mass exit of financial advisors, one, leaving the industry, but two, actually going, you know what, I'm not doing risk anymore because the profit is just not there. So the impact to those, so the profit's not there, but I want to also add on that is that the length of time now for them to actually do a risk plan is longer than what it's ever been before.
Yeah.
So
you got less advisors doing the selling. You've got less incentive for existing advisors to sell it for the reason that the whole LIF review or the LIF legislation has decreased incentive to sell and serve. So that needs to be looked at as well, particularly if you've got to have 30 or 40% less of the advisors being able to deliver those solutions to what already is an underinsured population in Australia. And given the debt levels that we've got and the way our economy is engineered around leverage, debt and property, there's some serious themes coming from this.
I know, and you made a good point about the premiums as well. The premiums are becoming unaffordable. I know just from my own premiums that were level that are now just getting astronomical in relation to the prices. And that is frustrating for someone that knows the industry so well. Imagine the consumers that don't get it, that just get upset and go, you know what, I'm just going to cancel it, which then impacts underinsurance.
Yeah, well, that's right. Particularly when you sold on a certain narrative around level premiums, right? And
of course.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's there's definitely some big themes coming out of this, and one would have to think is the intent of all the reform is this? Was the intent X, and are we getting something completely different as a result? And how do you pull back?
Yeah.
Big call.
Bram, we lost you for a minute, but you're back.
That's right.
I'm very upset about it. Beating his fist against the wall, going, I can't believe this is happening to such a great industry.
My very apology. We just had a little emergency that I had to attend to, but it's all good now.
Okay. We thought you just dropped off, so lucky Arthur and I are good talkers.
Oh, yes, you're right.
And I know, look, there's and for me, it was a really sad day, and I can guarantee that we will see a bigger exit. I mean, I think back in 2018, we had 28,000 advisors in the industry.
Wow.
At the end of 2021, we're going to have 14,000 approximately advisors. That's a huge amount of people that are leaving the industry because of the complexity of what we're doing. You've got to sometimes weigh out whether or not the complexity is the impact to the consumer of not actually getting the advice, which we all know is so important going forward. I think, though, there is a silver lining in the sense that there is less advisors. So therefore your financial planners have got a bigger pool of clients to focus on, to be able to go out there. And we know that more clients are going to need advice. But this probably brings me to the point of making sure you've got a really tight ship and you know how to run a business. And I know, and we'll pop it into the chat bar a little bit later, but we are running a webinar on the 3rd of August at 12 p.m. to talk about this. What is the fundamentals for growth? Are you going up, down, or out? And what are the kind of things you need to consider in order to be able to maintain and grow a profitable financial planning practice going forward, considering the changes within the industry. I'm going to pass over to Bram because I know that you've always got something to say around this topic and are pretty passionate about it as well.
Appreciate that. And yes, I do. I'm sometimes also a good talker, just sometimes. And a lot of times I need subtitles because I'm originally Belgian, so don't hold it against me. But look, one thing, when we started talking about this topic here, one thing that I keep thinking about, like having had some conversations with planners in the last few weeks as well. The first one that I'm thinking of is, well, of course, the consumers, the people that are now very often are being left by their old advisor. And now, their business is being now taken to somebody else, sometimes involuntarily for them. Their book is just basically handed over to somebody else who wants to buy it. But then you got also these advisors that are now like purchasing books. And as I was on my way to this meeting here with you guys, it just dawned on me, we need to use a little bit of an analogy here. When we shop around for a house, the analogy is buying residential real estate. Very often you can either start from scratch and build what you want, which is organic. You basically are finding the ideal clients and you're bringing them into your business. You can also buy a book of existing, and that's like buying an existing property, and you're hoping that you get the best thing here, but you might have to renovate. There might be a few skeletons falling out of the closet. You might have a lot of unexpected costs that you didn't foresee, and you might actually end up thinking like, oh my goodness, this property that I wanted, it doesn't even have enough room for the swimming pool that I envisioned. It doesn't have room to build an extension. And you got all this sort of problems sometimes with buying a book that you don't know exactly what you're buying into. And then you can question yourself, are these the right clients? Are these actually the clients that will help me grow my business the way I foresee it growing right now, giving the complexities of and the changes? And so the analogy of buying a house, you want to really buy, let's say, something existing that looks good on paper but might not quite be the right fit? Or is it also perhaps also time again to think about, well, maybe I really need to kind of do a bit more organic. Maybe I need to really focus more on a particular type of client. And yes, like Arthur said, if the risk, let's say life insurance, isn't quite cutting it anymore, like how can you kind of diversify and have a better offering that just from a business model perspective positions yourself for growth, that can help you weather the storm, run a profitable ship, and have the right systems in place to serve the right clients, not just any client.
Yeah, very, very good points, Bram. And I must even say is, I've always looked at opportunities to grow through acquisitions, and you've got to be careful of, are you buying someone else's problems? Are you, what you think you're buying, do you think those clients have been indoctrinated to the new world of advice today? And the reality is, if someone is exiting or selling off a portion of their clients, they've obviously looked at it themselves and made a decision that they cannot convert these clients to what was a narrative of yesterday to the narrative required today, and therefore have no choice but to either segment out and sell and or move on. The other important thing there is, advisors who are going to be beaten by the deadline may not have the opportunity to sell these clients. And so essentially those clients get handed back to the product manufacturers and fees are turned off. And the problem that you've got there is that you've got all these product providers, manufacturers that have got advised clients sitting in orphan pools needing service with less advisors to service. So the interesting thing that I think is going to be is what is a strategy for product manufacturers to connect or reconnect these clients to advisors where they don't actually own distribution anymore? Because in the old vertical models, you had the product manufacturers and the distribution businesses owned by the same entity, a la, ANZ OnePath and so forth. CBA probably is the last remaining one. I think BT and Westpac have got some decisions to make there, but the rest have unfolded. So, AMP, again, another classic example where the separation of product and distribution is going to come about. And so how do those organizations reintroduce or introduce clients needing service into an advised product to an advisor that they don't control anymore? I think that's an interesting situation as well. And to close off my comment as well, the caveat around the numbers as well, Kylie, is what I thought, we've lost a lot of advisors. I think the reality is that the term advisor is very broad.
Yes, it is, yeah.
There would be stockbrokers or limited advice or scale. So, there'd be a large percentage of those where you've got people that have been on the register be able to advise
ASIC
on
register, yeah.
But aren't a financial planner. There'd be definitely a big chunk of those that are just coming off.
I absolutely agree. Those were the ASIC's numbers that I pulled from there. Look, we could go on about this for a long time, but I'm going to cut us short because otherwise we'll keep doing this live. But look, what I want to do is I want to be able to offer to everyone that's listening today and everyone that's going to listen over the next coming weeks is we are running a webinar on the 3rd of August at 12 p.m. Okay, and we're going to be talking around what are the main ingredients financial planning practices need to consider in order to continue to grow and profit in the years going forward. So we would love to have you come and join us. If you would love to come and join us, please just reach out to anyone, either myself, Arthur, or Bram. Let us know. We'll send you through a link to the landing page, and you can come and join us on this day. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening and being part of the conversation. And as always, thank you, Arthur and Bram, for being my, I won't call you sidekicks. What will I call you? My
industry experts.
Industry experts. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scotty.
Thanks for joining.
Bye-bye.